Hey, what's going on, RTR drivers? I am really excited about today's video. The product I'm about to show you may be one of the best releases of 2022. It's going to be really epic for those that have been in the hobby for a long time, and I think those that are newer to this hobby are going to really appreciate it as well. So why don't I stop teasing you guys and let's take a look at the Losi Mini JRX2. How awesome is this? A scaled down version of the Team Losi JRX2. Now, when the original JRX2 was released, it was the product that put Losi on the map. This buggy was innovative, it was high tech, and most importantly, it was competitive. And I'm really excited that Losi has chosen to replicate this in 16 scale so we could enjoy it again. And they did a great job in replicating the original buggy. Now, the reason that they shrunk it down to 1/16 scale is they didn't want to mess with the vintage market. They wanted to leave it alone, let the values stay, and I think it's just really great that they did that. However, they really kept true to the design of this buggy, and this is going to be a lot of fun for those of us that have been racing for a long time and have great memories about the JRX2. And again, I think anybody that appreciates RC is really going to have fun with these, especially in true dirt off-road conditions. Now, let's get a little deeper into this. This is obviously the original JRX2 style, but there are 3 versions available. Obviously, this one, the JRX Pro, and the Junior 2. I'm excited to get this version of it because that's what I had back in about late 1988. And in fact, I pulled out my old JRX2 buggy right over there. It's kind of hurting, but I'll show it to you in a little bit so you can see how well they replicated this thing. But now let's get into some of the outside features here. And I mean, look at this thing. They nailed it, guys. The orange wheels, the buggy styling of the body, the wing wire on the wing mount back there, the aluminum motor plate out back. Let me flip it over really quick. I'm just showing you guys some highlights here. Fiberglass chassis, pretty awesome. And you know, it's 16 scale, ready to run, and you know, you could have this thing out in your yard in a matter of minutes, just tearing up the dirt. All right, now let's see, let's talk about the wheels and tires first. So obviously we've got the orange 5 spokes, we've got rib tires up front, and out back we've got the step pins. How cool is that? Side note, I really hope they come out with X patterns for this. That would just be so cool because I had a ton of X pattern tires when I raced. Check out the body, really cool buggy body, reminiscent of the early days in racing. These are decals all over it. I believe all the bodies are decaled. White wing up top, even replicated the wing buttons. We've got the wing wire, even the 4 body clips to hold down the body shell. These clips are really hard to pop off, so I'm gonna put the camera down for a second and show you what's inside the buggy. There we go, I got the body clips off. Now we'll pop off the body here. And I do wanna show you that they kind of made a little change here for the wing wire. It is now mounted as part of the body instead of going through the aluminum tubes, which they actually have here. But I'm guessing that this thin wing wire would just be too much of a pain to go in and out of the tubes there. So I actually like that change, but the body is well painted. And I went and grabbed my JRX2 just so we could see how they replicated some of the stuff. I'll go in and show you this throughout the video here. There's my original beat up chassis. But anyway, let's get back to the buggy. Check it out. We got the fiberglass chassis. I mean, this thing looks great. Fiberglass shock towers, aluminum shocks and everything. And as you can see over here, they really replicated the shape of it. And let's start off here in the front. JRX2 bulkhead with the A-arms out front going right over to the steering knuckles and caster blocks. Adjustable tie rods up top, just like the original buggy. Sorry, I'm missing my shock parts. I know I've been digging for parts, trying to get that thing together, which just wasn't able to. Again, I mean, I haven't raced that thing in God knows how many years. But back to the buggy, the simple bell crank steering with aluminum drag link up front, and just like the original one, even ball bearings from the factory, which is really cool. We've got a servo saver on the servo. I'll talk about the electronics in a little bit, and then I'm just gonna move back here to the battery mount. So it's not the original battery mount like on the JRX2 here. It was the boxy style. This came on the later versions of the JRX Pro, I believe, and the Junior 2 definitely, I'm pretty sure about that. but you know, it allows you to go and put the reaction batteries in there. It comes with the 650 milliamp. Yes, I'll get back to electronics again later too, but let's move on to the rear suspension, the 5-link suspension. Who remembers this? So cool, so innovative at the time. We got aluminum shocks to dampen it. They are oil filled, just like the front. A fiberglass shock tower again in the rear. And let me just show you more of these suspension parts. You got that big hub carrier out back with the 5 links, even little E-clips on the hinge pins in the center. Just really like the way this looks. We have some more, I believe, more adjustability on this than we did the original. There's 4 holes on this arm, I believe. Yeah, definitely 4 holes there. And I think we only had 2 on the original, right? Let me go just double check here. Yeah, there's only 2 on the original. So a little bit more adjustability there. But let's get back to the transmission now. It's got a transmission that looks like the original. Let me spin mine around so you guys could see it. I cut the ears off the top. Remember, that was the cool thing to do. But you know, we've got the ears up top here. And then inside the transmission, there's some differences. So the original one had the differential in the center. And here we've got a gear differential that's down at the bottom, much similar to the Mini B. All metal gears on the inside, metal gear top shaft, and even a slipper clutch. Pretty good setup, really well greased from the factory, but I think you're just gonna have to add a little bit stiffer grease at some point. Slider universals out to the steel axle shafts, and I even wanted to mention that the out drives are steel as well. So those are pretty strong. Remember, the originals were plastic and sometimes it would spread. It seems that they've you know, really bulked up the driveline on this. And actually, one more thing I want to mention is they have 7mm nuts throughout this car, even on the front. So that just makes it easier to work on. You could use a lot of today's tools, metric tools that, you know, we have on hand. The whole car is metric hardware. Let's see now, I mentioned the slipper clutch. We've got the aluminum motor plate. This one has a JRX2 logo etched on it, and the motor plate is drilled, so you could go and swap out your pinion gears with the tooth count that's etched on the motor plate. Makes motor changes really easy. All right, that's really about it. Let me show you the bottom of the chassis quick once again. You know, we've got kick up in the front, but nice lightweight chassis, just like the original. Okay, let's get into the electronics now. So we've got the SX107 servo. I'm not sure everybody's going to be excited about that, but I've had decent luck with those, and hopefully it works out well here. It looks like we've got a new speed controller receiver combo, new 2-in-1. So it's got the SLT logo on here, and that's because it matches up with the new SLT radio system that it comes with. I'll show you that in a minute. But this is now a 25 amp speed controller. You could still go and adjust between LiPo and nickel metal hydride. You could adjust your throttle mode. And that's really about it. EC2 plugs. I was really excited to see this port here that I thought was going to be an extra port for a transponder, but it looks like it's just part of the hardwired system for the servo. So that's kind of a bummer that they went through that and still didn't give us a port for a transponder. So what's up with that, Losi? 650 milliamp battery, as I showed you before. So if you're already rocking a Mini T or a Mini B, you could use your batteries from that. And out back here is now a Junior's Choice motor. Who remembers that label? I think I had one of these motors. Now this motor is a bit different from the Mini T and Mini B motors. This is a 42 turn, and so that's why I'm guessing they bumped up the amperage of the speed controller as well. So that should give you a little bit more rip out of this brushed motor than you would get on the Mini T or Mini B. So really cool buggy. Let me show you what else comes in the kit. We've got the SLT2 radio system, so this is new from the brand. Spectrum, of course, and has your basic trim functions, decent feel to it, and this is what I like. They have little mounts or a little base on the bottom, so when you put it down, it doesn't fall over or anything like that. That's pretty cool. Here is your instruction manual. You get a Losi decal, your 0.5 amp charger, USB charger, a bind plug, and some basic tools. Here is that box. Check it out. Really cool box art on here, and make sure you look at the sides to get which one you want. All right, guys, it is time to go get this thing dirty. I can't wait to drive the Mini JRX2. All right, drivers, this is the first time I'm kneeling down to show you a car in action, but the Mini JRX2 looks pretty small on the BMX track here, but I think it's gonna show you how much fun this little buggy really is. It is pretty quick. I would say it's a little bit quicker than the Mini B, not by much. It definitely handles the dirt a lot better. These step pin tires in the rear have lots of traction, a little bit of push from the front, but that's totally fine. I mean, I'm totally in control of this thing. And it's a blast. Look at that thing. It's bringing back so many memories, and that's what this buggy is all about. But it handles really well. I've only flipped it over once so far. I've been driving it. This is my third pack actually, and it's just so much fun. I love the way it looks. Such a classic look. So many memories. Again, really cool. All right, let's switch it up. Let's go over to some little jumps that we can get a little bit of air off of. All right, I know you can get a little bit of air off of this jump. Again, big BMX track jump, tiny little car, but get some air. Little chassis slap there. Definitely has, oh, there's a roll for you. Got it light enough to roll it over. But it's good. Maybe it could use a little heavier of a shock oil. But right now, I'm just really enjoying the drive on this thing. I turned the steering rate up just a little bit. They have it dialed back, I noticed. Maybe so it doesn't go full lock on you, which it doesn't really need much more steering out of the box. But pretty good scoot out of the motor. I'm just gonna keep ripping around here and having fun. Take a look at it. It's got dirt all over it. Check it out. I mean, even scratches on the bottom. That's the way it should be. No carpet dust like my Mini B. Oh, it was so much fun driving this. It just brought back so many memories of tuning the JRX2 and racing the JRX2 and modifying my JRX2, and I am so happy that Losi brought it back. And you know I went out there saying it may be one of the best releases of 2022. I think it's going to really hit home with diehard hobby enthusiasts, and I think everybody's just going to enjoy it. It works so well in the dirt. I know the BMX track wasn't the best place to test it, but there's not a lot of small off-road tracks around here, but I just had so much fun with it, driving it around in the dirt, just going off some of those jumps. I was able to get some air. It lands pretty well. I mean, it kind of lands like an old JRX2, pops up the front end here and there, but it does handle pretty well. These step pin tires on the back definitely throw some roost off of them. Has decent amount of steering. Actually has really good steering. The steering is turned down a little bit. That might be so you're not locking out the steering and causing too much strain on the servo, but I cranked it up a little bit. Seemed to work just fine. Gave me that extra steering. It's pretty quick for, being a brush system. I didn't really notice much more speed than a Mini B. Did throw my GNSS in there, and it did top out at 14 miles an hour consistently. The one thing that would have, I think, been cool is if they had the JRX Pro with the brushless system, maybe change up the box art a little bit to identify that, because I know some people are going to want to throw a brushless system in there, but I think people are just going to jump right onto it to have this right away. I don't think you're going to go wrong with picking one up. As far as things to tell you to watch out for, actually, first up, I did want to mention that the power button on the STX2 does stick out a bit more, so you could turn the button on just fine on that radio. The only thing I want to warn you about on the car, though, on the buggy, is the motor plate, the screws that go into the motor plate. There's one spot where a screw is literally on the edge of the motor plate, and just me lightly cranking it back down after taking the transmission apart for you, I stripped out that hole. So be very, very careful when you take this car apart. Other than that, I mean, there's no other issues that I found, and I put a bunch of runs on this thing because I've got so many battery packs from my Mini Bs and racing Mini Bs and Mini Ts. So I've got lots of runs on here, and everything seems to be pretty good. So as is, we're looking at one tough buggy. Let me know what you think about the Mini JRX2 in the comments section below. Let me know if you had an original. And if you want to know more about the Losi brand, they have an awesome video series on their YouTube channel that will bring you up to speed on the history of the company, and it's really a worthy watch. I'll have a link for that in the video description below, and I'll have a link for the buggy. It is an affiliate link, so if you're an online shopper, please consider using it because that helps us out here on the channel. All right, guys, time to head back outside and get some more wheel time in on the Mini JRX2.